Following his sentencing, former Trump lawyer and fixer Michael Cohen sat down with ABC's George Stephanopoulos for what was described as an explosive interview. I don't know if it was necessarily explosive. For me, it was, kind of hearing things that we already heard before, but that's just basically what the media is saying about it. Now, in it, we did find out some interesting things that we already knew about, kind of, and those are the crimes that Cohen had admitted to, and what he shared with prosecutors. Now, what's interesting is some of those crimes implicated President Trump. Now, for example, Trump himself was one of the people, according to Cohen, who negotiated the Karen McDougal payment between, Cohen and AMI Media, who runs the National Enquirer. Now, according to the site Law and Crime, Cohen said he didn't have much to do with that payment, saying the negotiations were really just between Trump and AMI CEO David Pecker. That man's name never gets old. And then David Pecker's counsel. So Pecker, of course, is now cooperating with the investigation in the Southern District of New York on those payments. Now, Pecker's counsel said, and this was an interesting tidbit from Cohen himself, when they were having that discussion, apparently AMI and Pecker's lawyer said, oh, hey, you know what? This could be a bit of a legal problem. He said, I just reviewed the documents. Cohen said that Trump knew it was wrong, but did it anyway to, quote, help him and the campaign. Well, now that would qualify as a campaign contribution. And here's Cohen and AMI admitting that, yes, we made this payment, and we knew that we made this payment for the specific purpose of helping Trump's campaign. Not that, oh, no, I just wanted to make this payment for, out of the good of my heart. No, that's not what happened at all. So now AMI, Cohen are saying, yes, it was Trump. It was orchestrated by Trump. He knew about it, and he told us to do it. Again, that proves that the president is a liar. Now, I've been saying that since 2015, so this is nothing that you haven't already heard. Still, if people needed more proof, there it is. But then again, at this point, how much more do you really need? Now, there's more. I've got some videos for you on this. Later on in the interview, Cohen said that Trump had changed significantly since taking office. So I guess apparently before, when he was in Trump Tower, when he was running his business, the Trump Organization, and not having to deal with bad press or actually attempting to be presidential, he was apparently a different person to Michael Cohen. And now I'm going to go to that, and I'm let's see Cohen explain why there was such a change. Let's take a look.
Is not the Donald Trump that I remember from Trump Tower. He's a very different individual.
What's happened to him?
I think the pressure of the job is much more than what he thought it was going to be. It's not like the Trump Organization where he would bark out orders and people would blindly follow what he wanted done. There's a system here. He doesn't understand the system.
So it's different than Trump Tower. Well, no kidding. Now, it's hilarious to think that he didn't actually know that, but there are people out there that still believe that government runs like a business. Hint, it's not. It doesn't. It's not a thing, okay? It's not a thing. Like, it's not the same thing. It's obviously very different. And yes, there are pressures in the office that don't exist in a corporate structure where Donald Trump gets to say, you do this, and they do it. And of course, look, a lot of what Trump says is also, hey, that stuff's actually illegal. No, go ahead and do it anyway, because we're not going to get the scrutiny because we're rich and powerful. It's that two-tiered justice system. But in politics, well, now you have political enemies. Instead of being able to pay off people with campaign contributions or legalize bribes, now you have political opponents, which you deprive power, and they get a little bit angry. Donald Trump attacked the establishment and Hillary Clinton. He pissed off some of the wrong people. And now those people are saying, okay, well, now we have a vehicle to get you back. And that's just focusing on the crimes that you actually done. Hey, man, you did the crimes. You opened yourself up to it. Not our fault. We're just going to do what we're doing. But now, the other thing is that was fun to say is that Cohen's like, well, Trump just doesn't understand the system. Well, yeah, of course. Of course he doesn't understand the system because he's dumb. He's a dumb person, but he also thinks that everyone else is dumber than he is. That is absolutely comical. But in Trump world, people do actually believe Trump is a smart businessman. Look, how smart is it to go bankrupt 6 times? But Cohen's like, oh, no, I looked up to Donald Trump and his business acumen. How is going bankrupt 6 times and running consistent scams? Like, how is that? I mean, how is that smart? Oh, no, you're a smart businessman. If you take out a bunch of money, if you take out a bunch of loans, go bankrupt and don't pay them back. Anyway, now, again, I think it has to do with the narcissistic cult of personality that he has. So now, again, and there are people around him, people like Michael Cohen, who said, look, I basically believed him and I was devoted to him, which is extremely weird. But nonetheless, you have to have someone that's devoted to you in order to run scams like they did together. Now, another question, speaking of devotion, speaking of loyalty, or now the lack thereof, now that Cohen is flipped against President Trump, here you have massive attacks on Twitter by President Trump towards Cohen, and he was asked about that by Stephanopoulos. Let's take a look.
Why do you think President Trump is lashing out against you in such a personal way, daily almost now, calling you weak, calling you a liar? Is he afraid?
Seems like it. That's what he does. That's what he does.
Are you afraid of him?
It's never good to be on the wrong side of the President of the United States of America. But somehow or another, this task has now fallen onto my shoulders. And as I also stated, that I will spend the rest of my life in order to fix the mistake that I made.
On the one hand, I kind of hate this because you're making Michael Cohen into looking like a good person. Michael Cohen is not a good person. Okay, Michael Cohen went along with all of these scams and then fell in with somebody like Donald Trump. Now, later on, he says, well, what would you say to Michael Cohen, to the past version of yourself before working for Trump? And he said, well, what were you thinking? What are you thinking? I bet he was thinking, I'm working with Donald Trump. I'm going to make a lot of money. That's usually what it's about. But onto the substance here of what he's saying, Donald Trump is, look, he is scared, and that's why he's attacking. That's what he does. Well, gee, I wonder why Donald Trump is scared. Maybe it's because his criminality, his criminal past, is starting to catch up with him. Now, he is afraid, he's desperate, and he's angry. And look, those are some things that you definitely don't want in the most powerful man on the planet. And so, look, the whole thing about his chief of staff leaving, John Kelly, look, you could argue that he was one of the adults in the room that prevented Trump from doing his worst impulses. Now, what's going to happen when he's gone? I have no idea. What's going to happen if he gets some of his appointments, for example, Attorney General? What's going to happen there? I don't know, man. That should be very, very interesting to see in the next coming weeks and months, depending on who, of course, gets into those positions. I'm hoping that the Democrats, I know, can actually fight back on this one. But to be fair, there's a lot of progressives now that at least will be getting into the House. But in the Senate, that's not looking so good there. So, hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and, YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc. We're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.